Hi, I want to welcome everyone to the Parrot Club. This month we have Jennifer Cunha, who's the creator of the Parrot Kindergarten Program, designed to mentally enrich and challenge companion birds, and My Reading Pets, a program to develop easy communication techniques with your birds. Jen is an attorney, animal cognition trainer, writer, and international speaker focusing on animal literacy and communication. A parrot mama for over 16 years, Jen has been developing cognition training techniques for almost a decade. Her training manuals have been translated and distributed throughout Europe, and she's been featured in Bird Talk magazine. She's twice written articles for the International Association of Applied Behavior Consultants Journal, as a frequent lecturer at science conventions and companion bird gatherings around the world. Jen collaborates on animal literacy and communication projects with university researchers, and her research has been published in peer-reviewed scientific proceedings. Her birds, Ellie and Isabel, have passed university-designed blind tests on phonics and reading comprehension skills, and are considered the very first animals who have learned how to read. So without further ado, I'll present to you Jen Cunha.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to see everybody, and thank you for joining tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I will also give a couple little caveats here. The first is that I think it's about to storm, so there may be some lightning, etc. And the other is that my birds are especially vocal tonight because the house is a little bit upside down because we're moving and they protest this. So I do apologize if there are any extraneous sounds coming through. But again, thank you so much. So I started on this journey very unexpectedly. My background actually is a lawyer. I'm a lawyer and have been practicing for many years. And I got a baby cockatoo, and she was very frustrated. Her name was Ellie. This is Ellie. And she had a lot of behavior challenges, even though I gave her lots of foraging opportunities, tons of treats, all the things we're supposed to do with birds. I trick trained her. I taught her, all kinds of fun stuff. I still had a lot of challenge with her behavior, mostly because I would teach her something and then, she'd learn it, and then we kind of out of stuff to do. And so I realized that on the days that she was learning or training, she was really calm, and the other days, she was a lot tougher and seemed very frustrated. So kind of on a whim, I used to teach children how to read in the inner city, and I knew the English phonic code. I knew the process for teaching reading, and on a whim, I decided to try to teach Ellie phonics because she really learned stuff as fast as I could try to teach it to her. She was such a fast learner. And I didn't actually think teaching her phonics would work, but I thought there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and that might buy me 26 days of peace. So I grabbed some phonics letters from Walmart and started teaching her the sounds. I didn't really think it would work, and she just seemed to absorb it. So over the years, she learned her letters. She started sound blending the letters into words. This became a communication system for us unexpectedly, and started our journey really into this in-depth system of communication and enrichment for birds. So this is these are my learners, and the learners you'll be meeting today in the webinar. And Lily was my 10-year-old parrot. She did pass away last year from cancer, but what we know from Lily is that even if they're little, they're still amazing learners. Ellie is my Goffin's cockatoo. She was a little goober who got us started in this, and she's become one of my amazing colleagues and best friends. Moonlight was 35 years old when she started learning phonics and all these cognition skills. She was amazing. And Moonlight, this is Moonlight here. Moonlight teaches us that no bird is too old. They're all able to learn. Isabel is an umbrella cockatoo. She's special needs. She's actually missing a foot and had some trauma before I got her. She's participated, notwithstanding her special needs, in university projects and has done amazingly well. And then Tilly is a 23-year-old red-vented cockatoo, and she's remarkable. She has a lot of kind of like PTSD symptoms from a trauma she experienced many years ago, and she came to retire here. But we developed a system for communicating with her that if any of your learners are afraid of hands or afraid of new objects, she taught us how to develop communication for our little learners who can't touch, who are afraid, who need space, and they need trust building. So this is little Tilly here, and she has built this whole curriculum with us about communication and even phonics training, completely hands-free, with lots of space for our little ones who need trust building and are a little more nervous.
Okay, the color is.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll answer as we go. Well, and we'll have facilitating with Amy. On an average day, okay, so the way our life is usually set up, not right now because we're moving, so everything's upside down, but typically speaking, every morning, one of my girls gets to make a big family choice. So one of them gets to choose what we're having for breakfast, one of them chooses the music, and one of them chooses the first activity we're going to do. So they all alternate choosing like what's going to be in their breakfast or what kind of music, activities. And then 3 to 5 times a week, I call them 5-minute lessons. All you need are 5-minute lessons 3 times a week to do a really great learning with your bird and put them on a communication path. 5-minute lessons 3 times a week. We tend to stack our lessons, so we tend to do like 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, sometimes a lot more depending on what they're learning. But 3 to 5 times a week, I have a one-on-one session with each of my birds, and they get to choose whether they want to read a book, if they want to practice like learning new reading things, if they want to work on the tablet, work on writing, learn vocabulary, play games. And then almost every single day we play card games. Like at some point we'll play a card game together as a family. So this is a sample card game here.
Is green. Green, green. Who has a match? That was really good. Good job. That was right. Okay. Do you have a match? Yes. Good. Moonlight. Do you have a match? Yes. Good job.
That's an example of a card game. Isabel was the protester in the back. She likes to play by herself, so she played right afterwards with me. And what we know about choice in animal husbandry is that when animals have choice in their lives, their behavioral outcomes are significantly better. Their emotional and mental well-being is improved. So the more choice we can build into our birds' lives, the better their behavioral outcomes and the better their mental health. The degree of control an animal has over their environment can lead to beneficial effects on their behavior. Control is a vital part of psychological well-being, and an animal's own choice, as much as possible, should be a determinant for what enrichment is provided. And what do we know about choice training in animals? We know that since 1953, we know that like animals can press levers and push buttons to, ask for treats or avoid aversive objects. So they, we've explored them learning symbols and using symbols to communicate for almost 70 years. Recently, a study came out that horses touch symbols to ask for blankets. So horses have learned to communicate with symbols to ask for blankets to be put on or removed. Primates, non-human primates, use symbols and communication boards to communicate with vocabulary up to 2,000 words. It's amazing. Animals have a huge capacity for vocabulary. I think Coco knew over 2,000 words. Kanzi, Abonobo is, I think, at about 2,300. Dogs can learn over 1,000. Birds can learn 1,600. They have really big capacity for learning. And here at Parrot Kindergarten, we encourage and provide tools for cognitive learning enrichment, like kindergarten for parrots. We also do a lot of research. Research is near and dear to my heart because it's nice to say, oh, like the bird touched this or the bird said that. But I want to know, like, how do we make sure that that communication is authentic? How do we see if they really can read? How do we know if they can really do math, So we do a lot of research. We've done research in phonics, reading comprehension, math, yes, no training. We're working on projects with feather destructive behavior. And we found, like one of my colleagues started training. She had a group of just feather plucking birds, and she started using the curriculum with her feather destructive group, and they're all feathered, like birds that were mutilating stopped mutilating. So the mental enrichment often can help. Not just is it mental enrichment, it's also facilitating choice and communication and independence in their human families. So it's been really, really amazing to see the brilliance of birds in our own homes. Okay, so today what I want to show you are 5 levels of learning and communication, and also how those apply to tablets. So you can see how the tablet, this is it's been really fun to explore tablet play with the birds, but how the tablet can facilitate learning, communication, on each of these levels. The very bottom level, I think the most important thing that we can do for birds is give them more environmental control. So sometimes I think of like moms and dads who are really, really, really busy, but they want their bird to have more choice and control in the environment, or maybe birds that are really nervous. We have to do some trust building with them. Giving environmental control is a powerful tool for helping them overcome trust issues and feel more confident. So environmental control is the very first step. It's, just building in choice into their everyday routines. It doesn't take very long at all. And then they have a pretty empowered voice in their human families just with environmental control. And we'll dive into that more, each of these more in a moment. Trust building enrichment is where you start to engage in really simple and fun learning together using crafts or books or the little tablet games. And this trust building enrichment, brings out even more confidence in the birds as they get treats and they learn tasks. And it's really, it seems to be enriching for both, bird owners and their little ones. Learning skills is kind of a bridge level. It's where we start doing target training, color discrimination, symbol training. So in the learning skills, it's a building block so that they learn how to learn. And when they learn how to learn, when they learn how to choose between 2 objects or how to touch objects, that gives them a skill set for being able to go into these more child level advanced concepts like counting, like playing games with cards, or learning vocabulary, coming to enjoy holidays, being able to communicate really more in depth about feelings and events and people in their lives. And then the top level here is reading and writing. And that's a more time commitment than these. These are all built around 5-minute lessons. Reading and writing is, probably a 20-minute, several times a week time investment, but then, it also opens up more opportunities for enrichment and communication. So I'm going to dive into each of these. I also want to mention that this is the least to most independence challenge and control. So, here we're just starting to get some control in the environment, and it's a very, very, very easy to teach. And then, it works up into a little bit more challenging and a little bit more time investment. Okay, so level 5 here, environmental control. Again, I think is one of the most important things that we can give all birds, if possible. If it's at all possible to give birds environmental control, this is where you'll see a lot of behavioral improvement, because now they're getting choice in their environment. The time investment for environmental control is 3 to 5 minutes, and the topics tend to be stuff around the house. Which treat do you want? Which foods are your favorite? What toys do you want to play with today? They're usually concrete objects. So now your birds are able to choose, like what kind of food they eat, what toys are they playing with, what treats are they getting, and that's a simple way to still give them a lot of empowerment in their lives. When Ellie was a baby, I felt nervous because, not just nervous, like a little sad, I guess, because she seems so smart. And yet I felt like a little bit of a benevolent dictator. And I didn't mean to be, but I chose all of her foods, and I chose all of her toys, and I chose when she came out and what we did. And I chose all the things for her. And her choices were like which house plant she was going to destroy, or what color pellet she was going to eat that day, or stuff like that. But when we were able to give her choice between stuff, I felt like so happy and excited, because I knew she wanted to play with this toy, and I knew this became her favorite treat, And a lot of you may already see that with your birds. You may know, like, you may give them a pot of toys to choose from, and they get to choose it. It's very empowering. So this is an example of environmental control with Tilly. And Tilly was my little one with PTSD. And when she first came home with me, she sat in the back of her cage at the top, and she would just kind of like rock back and forth and fluff. And if I walked into the room, she'd become really afraid. So I had to start out with like about a 10 feet distance from her, and help her become comfortable with me. And it was, probably a good couple of months before I could come within 3 to 4 feet of her without, her feeling very, very afraid. So we worked through that. But once we got to the point where I could be within about 3 to 5 feet of her, I started doing this environmental control where I let her choose between objects and choose between foods, and whatever she looked at, that's what she got. And so this is the way to a bird's heart is through their stomach. She got to choose a lot of our foods, and this is what that looked like.
Okay, Cutie, which one is favorite? Which one is favorite? This one? Pepper. Thank you. We're gonna figure out what's in our recipe tonight. For this morning for our Thrive Box Mash. Ready? Which one is favorite? You want some yellow beet? You can do yellow beet. Yum. Here we go. Thank you. Tilly is in charge of helping us pick out our ingredients when we make our chalk. Broccoli or spinach? Broccoli and spinach. Which one is favorite? Spinach today? We can do spinach. Thank you. And the most important question, what is our fruit for today? Do you want mango or do you want pear? Mango or pear? Which one? Pear? Mango? Which one? Mango. Okay. I figured that's your.
That's her favorite. So it's an example. And initially when I started teaching this, I would try to give her little bites of each one because I make chop for them quite a bit. And so, initially when we teach birds this, they probably don't necessarily know what the fruits and vegetables are. She's getting treats for looking. But then after a while, she actually became very consistent with her picks. She loves mango. She does actually really like beets. So, she got more control over her environment, and she takes kitchen duty very seriously. So that's environmental control. It's just building choice into their environment with foods and treats and toys mostly. And the next level is trust building enrichment. And this is where we do really easy, fun games, tablet coloring books, tablet drawing, crafts, little books, generally, to engage with our birds and have fun. My birds love touching pictures and books. They ask for it all the time. It's probably one of the #1 things. And it's also something they choose, especially if they've been nervous about something like the 4th of July really scares them. So they tend to ask for more books. So books are fun. There's a million of them at the library. And so this is what that looks like.
Are you ready for a book? I'm going to call this Who Said Moo, and we're going to say chicken instead of rooster. Where's the chicken? There's the chicken. Good job. Every morning, the chicken calls out cock-a-doodle-doo. And then one day, somebody said, moo. Where's the chicken? Where's the chicken? There's the chicken. There's the chicken. Good job.
Honestly, like it's an awesome word hunt, or not word hunt, but like picture hunt on each page, and they learn new vocabulary. And a lot of times we'll take a theme. I'll go to the library and get, 4 to 6 books on pigs or cows or whatever topic we're learning about Santa at Christmas time. And then they enjoy like finding that animal or that topic on every page and getting treats for it. We have a surprising number of birds that are really addicted to books. It's very, very popular. And if you're going to do some books with your birds, I also recommend the sensory ones, like the touch and feel ones. They love to touch different textures. It's really something that they seem to enjoy. And this is another way that we can build trust with our birds, just like playing. So Tilly learned to touch her tablet, and she can color, and I might pick the colors, or she's learned to pick some colors, and she gets treats for coloring in the bunny. There's a lot of fun, really easy coloring book topics. I mentioned books. You could take a theme. You could take dogs and cats and get books about dogs and cats, and little coloring books on the tablet with dogs and cats, so that they learn a lot of new vocabulary, but have a lot of fun doing it. And all of this, again, builds a lot of trust with birds. It enriches their minds. It gives them something to think about and something to learn. Do we have any questions on environmental control or trust building enrichment? You guys are good?
I have a question.
Sure.
What tablet do you use, and how do you prevent the bird from putting a big hole in the tablet?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the tablet I tend to use is a Galaxy Tab A. There are some more, more modern tablets. I think the Galaxy Tab A may have been discontinued in 2019, but some of ours are refurbs, and they have really, really good touch sensitivity. The Galaxy Tab A is typically on refurbished, can be found for about $99. Brand new, it's probably $200 to $250, so it's not too expensive. And you get it size dependent on the bird, but for probably African gray, Amazon, cockatoo size or larger, golden conure, I would do the 10-inch. If you have a conure or a cockatiel, I would do the 7.1-inch. And if you have a little guy, you've got a little tiny one, you could use a cell phone that's touchscreen and very sensitive, or you could do the smaller Galaxy as well, or a Kindle. And then we get a case for it, a children's case with 3 handles, so that the birds, if they try to chomp on it, they kind of get the handles instead.
So Jen, what do you do when you give choices? Does the bird tend to pick their favorite one every time, or do they mix it up? It's like if you gave me a choice of 2 items and one was my favorite, I'm going to pick the favorite one probably every single time, unless I eventually get tired of it.
That's a good question. So in a few minutes, I'm going to give you guys a training on choice so that you see what it looks like. And when I initially choose or teach choice, I usually do 5 to 7 reps with 2 treats. And a lot of times there's a lot of consistency in the choice. They might get one wrong, like maybe they weren't paying attention, but you'll see, for example, Tilly, I think she does 5 reps. And one time she chooses something else, but all the other times she chooses her favorite one, the one I think is her favorite. And so you kind of do a sequence of them. You'll do a couple reps, see what comes out. And then in my everyday world, where I'm asking, like, what do you want to do? I typically ask my birds 2 to 3 times anything. Hey, what do you want to do? And Ellie says, I'm gonna play cards. And I'll ask her, do you want to play cards? And she says, yes. And then I bring the cards and she engages. I feel like that was a good communication because she chose it. She said, yes, she wants to play it. And then she did it. So we have 3, we have like 3 levels of communication that she wants to do this. The reason, and I'll show you some research around it in a minute, the reason I think that's important is because human self-reporting, like Jen, do you want this, or did you this or that? Human self-reporting tends to be 30 to 90% accuracy, depending on the topic. So we're not 100%, we're 30 to 90%. And then birds under research conditions tend to be about 75% on average. So I like to ask a couple times and make sure I'm getting consistent answers. And then when I get consistent answers, I feel confident that they were paying attention. This is what they want. Other questions?
Do your birds always indicate their preference by looking or touching, or have any of your birds ever actually verbally indicated their choices?
It's a good question. My birds do not nod yes, but they will shake their heads no. So Isabel and Ellie both, if you ask them something or if you're offering them something, and I don't have my little cards with me, I'll offer my hand and they'll be like, no, we want to play here, or I'll show them something, they'll be like, no, they'll actually shake their heads. So they do some bodily movements to say no and to indicate it. And all of our birds also show body language, like they move away from or move toward. But generally speaking, if I'm asking them activity, food, music, stuff, we use the COM board on the tablet, or we use symbols, or I use the preference. And I think the question was also asked, how do you get your bird to not follow the screen of the tablet? What we do is we have a system, and if there's time in the end when we're taking questions, I'll show you a video about it, but we have a system where we put a dot on the center of the screen. You might put some peanut butter or some treats there or something so that they're actually reaching for the center of the screen. And when they touch the center of the screen, you say good and you give them treats. So they start to lose interest in touching the edges, and they really just start to reach for the center of the screen to interact. That's the very first training. That doesn't mean that they never go for the edges. Mine do too, but the case really protects it. And the more they're interacting with the middle of the screen and getting treats for doing stuff in the middle of the screen, the less interesting the edges are. Any other questions? Oh, Nicole, your comment is cute. Hi, Bitsy. Okay, so level 3 are learning skills. This is a really sweet and awesome stage. It's like so precious because this is where birds learn how to learn and you learn how to teach, because you're going to be their teacher and your little ones are little learners. So just like little kids need to learn how to hold a crayon, need to learn how to sit, need to learn how to color on a piece of paper and not on the walls. With birds, we help them with really, really easy lessons to become learners and to learn how to choose between 2 new vocabulary words, to learn how to select. And we do that by teaching them colors and shapes. Pretty much that's it. So they learn colors, shapes, target training, and then at this level, they can also start using their COM board. So with the COM board, that's the tablet-based communication program, and they can start saying like they want treats, or they want to play outside, or whatever. They learn the little boxes that speak for them, and it's kind of a transient stage because it doesn't take very long necessarily to teach colors, shapes, symbols. Sometimes a couple of weeks, sometimes up to a couple of months, depending on the bird and the skills that are needed. But Also, some birds learn pretty quickly. I know Candy's here, and Maverick and Griffin have been doing really well. And Maverick is like, he's a boss. So this level learning skills teaches them how to learn new vocabulary and how to understand symbols. And then they move right into child level concepts. But let's take a look at what this looks like. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here. This is Ellie. And this is Ellie learning colors. And when we teach birds colors, they're learning that new words, right? This is red, 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 blue, blue, blue. So these things have names. They're learning names. They're learning vocabulary for objects.
Here's how to teach your bird their colors. So, Ellie, touch red. Good. Touch red. Good. Touch red. Good. Touch red. Good. Touch blue. Good. Touch blue. She's still eating. Touch blue. Good.
She was still eating. I gave her too big of a bite.
Still eating. That was a big bite. Good. Touch blue. Good. Touch blue. Good. Okay, so I do several reps of touching red or blue or whatever the vocabulary is. And then I give a quiz. Let's see if she learned them. Ready, Ellie? Touch red. Good. Touch red. Pause. Bring them back. Recue. Touch red. Good. Touch blue. Good. I'm going to swap my hands to see how she does. Touch blue. Where's blue? There you go. Good job.
So I feel really comfortable that she's learned these two new words, red and blue, and she's learned that these words are associated with certain colors. And then, of course, when she's learning that and becoming fluent in her colors, that's when I feel comfortable that she's got the skill set to start learning other things like animals and numbers and counting and other fun vocabulary. Okay, any questions?
Are you using a clicker here?
Great
Like when you're
question.
reaching for the food? I can tell.
I actually use the word good. That's my bridge. Some people use a clicker. Some people click. Sometimes I click with my mouth also if it's a really specific task, but usually I just say good. And as soon as she does it, I say good, and then I give a treat.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay. And this is the tablet ComBoard program. This is the communication program that we use. So just for reference, there's a free version. The free version is very limited. It doesn't allow you to change the menu or add things to the menu. The paid version tends to be $20. I'm not somebody who buys apps very much. I think $20 is the most I've ever spent on an app ever, but it's one-time fee. It was $20, and it allows you to customize all of this. These are menus. The thing I love about the ComBoard is that there are menus. So she can push to drink, and then all her drinks come up. To eat, all the different food options come up. To play, she has activities. She can ask to watch cartoons and choose her cartoons. So this is the ComBoard. It tends to be $20 or so. It's on Apple, and it is also in the Google Play Store. And we did research that was peer-reviewed and published it was peer reviewed last year and published this year, on Ellie and her like corroboration on her selections. And I mentioned before that corroboration is important to me. So for example, with Tilly, when she was first learning, if I brought out something that was scary to her and a treat, she would look at the scary thing because that has her attention because she's nervous, right? So if I were expecting her to communicate which one do you want and, you know, choose between the scary thing, like maybe a new book that she hadn't adjusted to yet or something like that, and the treat, it wouldn't necessarily give me accurate information just to go off of her initial choice. Most of the time it's fine, but occasionally something might have their attention because it makes them nervous or for some other reason. So because they can't speak like we speak, I rely on corroboration. I ask which one is your favorite or which one do you want? But then I also watch their body language. Are they moving towards it or are they moving away from it? You know, so most of the time, it's all good. But occasionally we really need to make sure like that body language is lining up with their choices, or else like, we don't want to traumatize them. So we designed this study. This was designed with Dr. Carly Rose from Western Oregon University. She heads up the deafblind children project for all of Oregon in the state school system. And we followed Ellie's choices over 22 days and 84 interactions on her comm board. So she would choose something, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And then I would ask her another question about it, like, do you want this thing, or ask her to select again. And I wanted to see if she was consistent twice in a row. And then if her body language was consistent afterwards too. Like if she asked for something, did she take it when you offered it to her? Did she step up to go do it? Like did her body language corroborate after the two questions? And we looked at 84, I think it was 84 interactions, and she had a 94% corroboration rate, which is amazing. So like 94% of the time she corroborated it. And then the other 6%, one of the other questions, like she didn't follow up on. So then we'd ask her more questions, she'd choose something else, and then we got corroboration. So she, and all of her interactions wound up with a successful communication. This is what that looks like.
Do you want to practice writing? Do you want to do writing?
No.
Okay. Do you want to practice tracing? Do you want tracing?
No.
Okay. Do you want to play cards?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to read a book?
No.
Okay. And do you want to play cards?
Yes.
Sounds good. Let's play some.
So then she went on to play cards for 7 minutes. So you can see I asked her a bunch of questions. She was no on most of them. Yes on cards, no on the next thing, yes on cards again. So we have 2, and then she played for, 2 rounds of cards. So that was that was an average, but an example of the communication with the comm board. Do we have any questions? Yeah, so what treats do I give as reward? I usually use sunflower seeds that are raw and shelled, and pine nuts. So pine nuts tend to be a really high value reinforcer for my birds, and then sunflower seeds are like the regular treat. Those are what I use. Other people have, their birds have different favorites, and we can ask Candy in a minute what her birds' favorites are as well. Any other questions? Okay.
Do you want?
So, in just 1 second, I'm going to stop my share for once. Actually, let me just up here. Amy, if you could tell me what time it is, or if I'm getting close, I just don't want to go over, and I actually don't can't see my clock on my computer with this
Oh,
the screen
you're
share.
fine. Keep going as long as you want.
Okay, sounds good. So learning skills are that bridge to get us into child level concepts. This is a playground, you guys. It's so cool. It's so fun and so cool. The sky is the limit, and you have 5-minute lessons 3 times a week. That's it. So your time commitment really isn't that long. Your materials, you're the teacher. You choose the materials that your birds love best. My girls love the tablet. They love books. Crafts are okay. I love crafts, so I like to do crafts. And you can build out a learning experience. I usually do a unit study because it's efficient and easy and fun. And then I feel like my birds get really good in-depth knowledge. So let me share with you what a unit study looks like, and then we'll play with ideas. My birds have learned a ton of things, like their bodies. They've learned weather and seasons and holidays and like family members, right? Like cats, dogs, all kinds of the animals, farm animals, blah, 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 right? Because they always want to learn new things. So they're pushing me to teach them new stuff. So I do. Well, this summer, we wound up, and this feels really frivolous to me, so I kind of like roll my eyes around it. We're studying like unicorns and fairies and rainbows. Mostly because I got to go to Michael's at the end of the pandemic, and I was so happy to go to Michael's. I mean, the pandemic was over, but I got vaccinated, so I could go to Michael's, and other reasons. And Michael's only had like fantasy summer crafts. So the kid toddler crafts at Michael's were unicorns and rainbows and like gnomes and fairies. So that's what we're doing. So I really I plan on about 4 to 6 weeks on a topic, go to the library, grab 4 to 6 books. I'm sorry, 1 second. Are we having a problem? My mom is babysitting and we're having a little challenge. I'll be right back, 1 second. Hello. This is the little challenge. She is back. Okay.
Jen, can I ask you, have you ever tried a maze? Would they be interested in doing the maze with their tongue?
Yes. There are apps that have little tiny toddler mazes and they're so cute. Yes, that's awesome. Neat. Yes, that is and this is exactly it. So like, you guys, the sky is the limit on what you can do and explore and play with your birds. Like you just kind of get them through learning colors and shapes. Candy can tell you in a minute what her experience is like if she wants to. But once they learn how to like choose between 2 things, I mean, they have mazes probably on any topic you would want. If your bird liked it, like you guys could play mazes. It's so fun. So, and they have like a zillion toddler apps that exist in the world. It's a little bit hard because sometimes you have to find the ones that are easy for birds. But yeah, there's tons and tons of stuff. So, so you take a unit study, and then just like you said, Amy, you could find the things your bird likes around that unit study, or whatever you want to do just generally. And for us, you know, I got books from the library. We found coloring apps on like the tablet, so they're coloring unicorns and rainbows. We have a puzzle game that has fairies. So we're gonna spend 4 to 6 weeks, you know, like learning about these fantasy beings. And now their world is a little bit bigger. They can watch cartoons that include fairies and unicorns and look at new things and have new experiences around a unit. So the materials can, oh, Amy, did you have more questions about that or other thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Okay, sounds good.
What's the name of the app that you recommended for the COM board? Is that like under your company or like, what's the name of it?
Someday I will have my own COM board. Until then, it is actually the COM board. The COM board itself, But that's what it's called, Comboard. It's a good app. It's a little glitchy. And it's a little bit clunky for birds, but it's the best one out there right now for our purposes. And that's what it's called, is Comboard. And it is my dream someday to have one just for birds that fits their little bodies a little bit better, but for our purposes, it's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Yeah, Amy, yeah, Comboard app.
The Comboard app, you put your own stuff in though, right? It's not.
I do. When you purchase it, you can put your own stuff in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do unit studies, and I tend to cycle them through the year. So around, Halloween, we'll start doing Halloween, and in November, we're doing more like autumn stuff. At Christmas time, we do Santa. Usually in the springtime, we'll do baby animals, and it's cute and it's fun and it's different and it's engaging. There's they love it. So those are general topics. You can do numbers, puzzles, and games. Mazes are genius. They would love that. Likes, dislikes, feelings, music. And remember, it's like walking into a candy store, but just 5-minute lessons. You pick one topic, enjoy it for a month or two. Pick another topic, enjoy it for a month or two. We've been doing this for over 5 years. So they've had a lot of exposure, but it doesn't take long before your bird is doing amazing things. On this level, child level concepts, we can start doing those yes, no symbols too. The reason we wait for this level for yes, no symbols is because there are several steps to doing yes and no. And if the bird is having a little bit, if they haven't learned how to do colors yet or shapes, yes, no is a big ask for them. So there you silly girl. So yes, no is on this level, but then you can have a lot more conversations with them because you can ask them questions about stuff that's not necessarily right there. As long as you've taught them vocabulary, it opens it up for more conversations, more in-depth conversations. And then at this level, they start becoming independent in their enrichment. So you provide your little 5-minute lessons, which are fun and awesome, but then you can also grab cartoons from YouTube. They can watch YouTube, like my girls are watching fairies and unicorns and rainbows and stuff on YouTube. They have tablet puzzles and games that I just set on the counter and they play their games while I'm cleaning the kitchen. So your birds become more independent in their enrichment and what they can do. And then what you can provide to them that's meaningful to them, they can watch cartoons for a couple hours and enjoy that and kind of know what it's talking about. Any questions? Okay. So this is an example of children's concepts.
Are you ready to learn about the sun?
Okay, I actually just feel pop in here, and I know why would anybody teach their bird weather? So many other cool things, but y'all weather is really interesting to birds because it affects them. If it's sunny, if it's raining, if it's hot, if it's cold. I think it's a big one. Yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday that the babysitter was here because I was out of town, and Ellie on her Comboard, Ellie rang her bell, and Sierra brought the Comboard over, and Ellie touched rain, and then it started raining 2 minutes later. It's Sierra said, I think she was warning me it was about to rain. So they tend to, Ellie likes to comment on the weather a lot.
Are you ready to learn about the sun and some clouds? Sun and clouds are outside. It's the sun. Touch sun. Good. Touch sun. Yeah, good job. Sun. Yay. Good job. Touch sun. Good. This is a cloud. Touch cloud. Good. Touch cloud. Good. Touch cloud. Good. Good job. Touch cloud. Good. Cloud. Good job. Ready? Which one is the sun? Where's the sun? Where's the sun? That's the sun. Good job. Where's the cloud? There's the cloud.
So we teach 2 words and we do a quiz, and then we actually read a book, and the book was like little clouds. You see types of the clouds on the pages, and we did a little craft with clouds and suns. And then this is an example of little Chili. He's a parrot communicating and talking with his mom.
Want to do shapes? No? Do match? Do you want to do match? No? Shall we see if you can do 1 and 2? Shall we do those numbers? No? What do you want to do? Shall we do your little cards? Yes, okay. Touch flowers. Where's flowers? Good boy. You want to do shapes?
He's so cute. He's amazing. He learned to count and add up to 10 in research, and with numbers and quantity. Just amazing. So this is what we know with our research that we've done. Choice symbol communication. We did match to sample. So, you know, if I ask Ellie, like, do you like sun? Do you like rain? She can say yes or no, but we can never really know objectively whether it's accurate. The corroboration helps a lot. But we decided to test with yes, no symbols on match to sample. Like, is this a match? Or is this a match? And see if the birds using yes and no could communicate with us about whether things were matches or not. And our research on 6 birds, different ones, pioneers, cockatoos, African grays, indicated 75% correct answers under blind conditions. And again, human accuracy varies and can be as low as 30%. And then the last, does anybody have any questions on child level concepts?
Actually, of course, I have a question, but have you done any work with generalizing pictures? So, for example, you had a cutout of a sun and a cutout of a cloud. What if you had 5 different drawings of suns, say different shades of yellow, different shapes, and the same thing for clouds, and then put them all together? Can your birds generalize from, for example, one sun to pick out another sun that looks a little different and distinguish it from a cloud?
That's a good question. A lot of times when I teach sun and cloud or other things, in that case, I used 2 symbols that were the same. But in that lesson, ultimately, I also started showing her pictures of suns, like different scenes of suns on Google Images. So I tend to generalize it when I'm teaching. Like if you're teaching a dog, you might show different pictures of dogs or something. And I tend to generalize it across different images that are real and cartoons, so that, you know, they have that ability to know it's not just this one image, that it's all these images with this general shape. Now, under research conditions, kind of advanced, but Ellie learned, you know, she appears to have learned how to read, but then while learning how to read, we did a reading comprehension test on her, I think last year, and it was published last November. So in the reading comprehension paper, what we taught her was she had to read like triangle, for example. So she read the word triangle and she'd see a picture of triangle and she had to do silent reading, triangle, 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 triangle. And I wouldn't say anything. She just had to silently read a word and associate it with an image, and then read another word and associate it with an image. And then I'd ask her, I'd cover up the word. So she had to read the word, associate it with the image, and then I'd cover up the word so she couldn't like read what I'm saying. I'd cover up the word and I'd say, which one is the triangle? And she had to have read the word, associated it with a picture, and then choose the correct picture that goes with the word I just said. It sounds like a lot of steps. But the really cool thing is that at the end, I would have her read the word, associate it with a picture, you know, and there were different pictures. It could have been like scissors or, things that she had never seen before, things that she'd never read before. But in the end, we did exactly that. She'd read the word, associate it with a picture, and then we would show her a new picture, 2 pictures, and ask her to choose the new picture that's similar but not identical. And she got 100%. So, so that was kind of cool. Other questions?
Jen, your research is so impressive, and I just wanted to 2 comments. One, I think you're onto something with regard to the birds sensing weather. I think that's a whole other research project right there that you may get funded by the federal government. The second thing is, I have 2 children at home that are young and actually like kindergarten age. So I'm actually going to try to use your method teaching my kids and the birds, and I'll let you know how I do with that. But my thought was, do you use also the symbols with the words? Because I've seen that, for teaching young children, not just the symbol, but the words, and somehow they wind up picking it up. And then they're able to put it into sentences eventually. So I wonder, as you progress with Ellie and your birds, that they may start to be able to do sentences.
Yeah. It's interesting. So when we have birds that the owners feel like they want to take the reading and writing track, like ultimately they want to teach their birds reading and writing. When we're teaching symbols, I feel comfortable starting to use like apple, but also this is the word apple, or starting to write the words there so they start to get familiar with the word symbols, the letter symbols. So yeah, I mean, and then but like some birds, maybe ones who may be overwhelmed. I'm not going to say any bird can't do it. I mean, like little tiny Chili is 4 inches tall, and he's blown everybody away. So I'm never going to say no bird could do it, but I will say that sometimes little ones seem a little overwhelmed with like stuff. Like Tilly, initially, if I showed her like a picture of an apple and the word apple, like there's a lot of stuff going on, she would be across the room. No, thank you. So with some of our little ones who may be easily overwhelmed, you start very like simple. But for those who might be on a track ultimately to be on like reading and writing, and you guys are at child level concepts, I think showing a symbol, but then also including words, if that was the thought, there's no reason not to. Did you have other thoughts around that?
I think that's excellent. I guess because I've seen these reading programs for children that had children reading at like 2.5. And so, for example, they would have the card and on it would have the word. And then they showed a show that is using that exact symbol, and it is another reinforcement tool. So as you're showing your birds, the cartoons, maybe you look at these reading programs for children, because I think, it's been shown that their reading levels are about that of a 4 or 5-year-old. So I think you could very well have your birds reading and writing and be on. Yeah, I think it's very impressive. I mean, I could email you because I had some other thoughts. I have some background in research. So I'll email you and not bore everyone. And the earthquake, I was also going to recommend, and one of our colleagues online here recommended it, because if you had birds across the world participating and consistent and able to determine certain types of, climatic change before we
they could communicate it.
Yes.
They could push a button.
And then we could Twitter it, and it would be even better than an emergency alert system right now. And then I have some experience in terms of like coding and AI, but you and I could talk about that for making your app. So
let's make a bird app.
Yeah.
No, it's the COM board is amazing, but it's a little clunky. It would be amazing to utilize birds in ways that they enjoy, but also could be very practical for us too. That would be really cool. Thank you. Okay, so then other questions? Okay, so then on the reading and writing track, I have some thoughts about it. First of all, it's a little bit of an investment. So in time. So when you're doing like reading phonics training, typically it's about 12 to 20 minutes, probably 5 times a week. Takes probably about 4 months to teach uppercase at least. Maybe you could get some lowercase in there too. And then like that would include learning how to sound blend into words, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're doing this track, it's a bigger time commitment, but the other part of it though is like, my birds ask for it. They love it. They love the challenge. I mean, when I hold up for Tilly, because Tilly's learning how to read, when I hold up, like, do you want to do words or do you want to read a book? She loves words. She likes to learn new letters. She likes to sound blend them into words. It's like a challenge, like a puzzle. And they love it. And then they also seem to really love to read books. Like Ellie loves looking at the words. I mean, we're not reading Shakespeare. We're reading young children's books. Ellie loves them. She asks to read books, to interact with them, but also to read them every day, if not several times a day. You know, you can't always do all the things, but they really, really seem to love challenge. They seem to love, you know, these harder concepts. Now, the other part of it is that it opens up communication in ways that are harder, I would say, on child level concepts. And I'll give you an example. Ellie loves music, so she's, you know, learned what the genres are, of course, and Lily learned that. All of my birds have learned the genres. But because Ellie can read, I can also write Beethoven pretty easily on a card, and we can listen to Beethoven's fifth, we can listen to Beethoven's ninth. She can learn like the beginnings of those. So she learns Beethoven, 5, 7. And because she's learned Beethoven and she's learned the numbers that are associated with the starts of the songs, she can walk up and has walked up to her comm board and she says, you know, to listen to Beethoven Symphony number 5, right? Which sounds ridiculous, but that's what reading opens up, because now okay, don't laugh too hard. I'm choosing between 2 houses and it's a little critical and I have to choose between these 2 houses like tonight. And so it's a good problem, but it's a challenging one. And I actually, like, she's sitting here, but I wrote this so that she can give me some of her feedback about which one she likes. I took her to the houses. When they have the ability to read, makes it, in my opinion, easier to have more complex conversations, because the symbols are easier to write. You can just write house or Beethoven or whatever. Now, the other part of it is that it requires maintenance, right? So like once a week, Ellie has a phonics reading lesson where we just make sure she's cycling through her letters and remembering what they are. You know, so that's built into our world, is like maintenance of the higher level skills that she's gotten to. Does anybody have any questions? You guys are good? Okay, so now, of course, we're at like, they can read books about Santa. They can read books about like the ghosts at Halloween or whatever. They can talk more in depth about feelings with words, with letters that they've developed. Communication skills actually also include writing and then choosing between written words, but writing is something we're still developing, and it's been really interesting because Ellie will write things on her comm board or on her tablet that are on her comm board, but because she's learned the letters, the letter associations, it's opened up her opportunity to communicate in ways that aren't limited to what I've put on the tablet. So on her comm board. So this is something we're still doing, but it's been really profound because she has no limitations except learning how to move her body in ways that result in letters. And of course, now she can do tablet-based books, tablet-based paint apps for independent writing. I have those set up for her. And this is an example of reading.
Come to the book. Okay. You want to read a book? You want to read a book? Okay. Hog. Good. Frog. Yes, excellent. Wall. Good job. Ball. Where's the ball? Beautiful. Good
So
job.
she read that book and then she asked for 7 more. And I was like, no more books. We need a break. This is an example of writing. So I'm holding up something and I ask her to write what it is.
Actually, what is this? What is that? Yeah. What is it?
And
Actually,
I'm
what is
sorry, I
this?
should explain. She's learned to write the first letter of them, and we're trying to sequence her letters. But the first letter is what I'm asking her to write for these
What
objects.
is that? Yeah. What is this?
I think it's a nut.
Beautiful. Exactly right.
For nut. And then I think the next one is O for pistachio.
Beautiful. O for pistachio.
I think she does it again.
O for pistachio. Beautiful.
So those are some of those examples. Do we have any questions? I feel like I should tell you it's very appropriate that her first letter was, or her first word she wrote on her own was no, because I was asking her to write a C and she was like tired of it and she looked up at me and she wrote N-O, no, she didn't want to do it. I'm going to pop through this a little bit. Like reading is just sound blending. You know, we've talked about that animals can learn like up to thousands of words. And sound like phonics is 44 sounds and 26 letter combinations. So it's really within the purview of their capabilities to be able to memorize 44 sounds associated with 26 letters. Our research was that Isabel, our other cockatoo, read at 71% accuracy at 4th grade level, sound text correspondence, 82 words under blind conditions, with a researcher, Dr. Perry from University of Miami. And then Ellie last year was blind tested on reading comprehension, where she had to read a word associated with a picture, and then the word was hidden, and we'd ask her like to choose certain pictures. And her accuracy when she was learning, she was at 64%. During practice, 83%. And then under blind conditions, except for one bad day, 100% across 8 trials. So that was that. Any other questions? And then we'll kind of start to wrap up.
If it's okay, if I can get your email, if that's okay.
Sure. Let me put my email in the chat. And if anybody wants like a link to these lessons, I have 2 things that if you want to email me, I can send you. One is a link to a guide. It's a tablet apps guide that gives you like a list of my favorite apps, my favorite tablets, cases, where to get the stuff. That's the first thing. So feel free to email me. And then the other one are 2 free lessons. Hold on a second. There's 2 lessons I'm showing you here. I can send to you so that you can work on them on your own time at home on your computer or your laptop. Okay, so this is called preference training. This is how I teach that first level of environmental control, which is really powerful for birds, to have stronger voices and communication in their families. I have a pine nut here and a sunflower seed here. I'm going to show her the pine nut and the sunflower seed so she sees that they're both there. And I'm going to ask her which is favorite. And then she gets to choose which one is her favorite. This is what that looks like.
Pine nut, sunflower seeds. Pine nut, sunflower seeds. Which one is favorite? What are you doing? Oh, pine nut. I'm switching hands. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Sunflower seed, pine nut. Which is favorite? Pine nut. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Which is favorite? Pine nut.
Does anybody have a guess about what Isabel's favorite treat is? So you do that first. You teach them how to choose between 2 treats. And then after that, you can do that with toys, like which is your favorite toy or foods and stuff. This is how to do it with a little one who's a little bit more nervous. So if you need to not let them touch, if they're afraid of hands, then you just hold it back and you teach them to look. And this is Tilly.
Preference training for Tilly using the concept of look instead of touch. So, pine nut, sunflower seed. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Which is favorite? Pine nut. Whichever one she looks at, that's the one that she's going to get. I'm going to swap hands. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Sunflower seed, pine nut. Which is favorite? You want a sunflower seed? There you go.
That was the one I think she didn't necessarily get right, but that's why we asked a bunch of times to find out if there's consistency.
And I'm going to keep them like this in pine nut and sunflower seed just to see what consistency comes up. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Which is favorite? Pine nut. 2 out of 3 for pine nut. Great job, Tilly. Yay! Just for fun, I'll do it one more time. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Pine nut, sunflower seed. Which is favorite? Pine nut. That makes sense.
3 out of 4. So I feel pretty good about pine nut. Okay, so I mentioned we have resources. We have a Parrot Kindergarten program. I'm so excited. We were able to start it this year. We have almost 100 families as part of our program. And the thing I really emphasize is these 5-minute lessons. We have tablet training lessons, weekly coaching calls. Once a month in our full program, we have like a get together where we have awards for our little learners and a little happy hour for all of us, the caregivers, moms and dads, and monthly behavior workshops that are free and included with Cassie. And this is the kind of stuff you can teach your bird. Is a little bit about us. I wanted to mention if anybody is interested in Parrot Kindergarten, you're looking at like which different programs we have. We have a light program that's just has the tablet training and it has the learning library for the lessons of communication. But if you were on the fence about which one is a good fit, in the full program, there's a lot of coaching. Every single Thursday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, we get together and we share and we talk through stuff, and there's so much that's not in the curriculum that you get coaching on. Like one of our moms is going out of town, so we put together like how to teach her bird to communicate about being gone, or stuff comes up, and we are able to like create communication protocols for those things and give support in every way. So so if you're on the fence, like the coaching calls I think can be really helpful for teaching and support and ideas and inspiration, like a bunch of us hanging out together and learning together. That is a little bit about us. I was gonna say, Amy, if there's time, if Candy's still here, I wondered if Candy could share about her little guys learning their colors and how they're doing.
Yeah, we actually have several people that I know of on the chat who are in Parrot Kindergarten, including a couple of our members as well. And I don't know who else is in here. I just wanted to ask one question first, though. Are any of your birds or the birds that are currently enrolled in Parrot Kindergarten good English speakers? And if so, do any of them actually verbalize their choices, like actually say no or yes or yellow or green or anything like that?
That's a good question. So Isabel is a really good talker in our family. I would say that of all of my birds, she speaks the most, and she speaks in context pretty well. I feel like she doesn't say like yes and no necessarily. She kind of goes like this, she shakes her head no if she doesn't want something. You can kind of like watch her language, her body language. But I feel like her communication skills, or maybe it's a little bit harder for her to articulate all her like what she would prefer or her thoughts. And it's a little bit easier. She has like the COM board or other mediums where she's just touching. That seems to have been a lot easier for her. I feel like we have a learner or had a learner who started kind of like using the COM board and stuff, but also using language to talk about stuff as well. I can't remember, I don't think they're active in our Parrot Kindergarten right now. It was one of our prior learners, especially the African Greys, and the African Greys are in the program because they speak so much. Sometimes they'll become very chatty about stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Oh, Roshni, yes.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from some of the people that, if anyone who's in Parrot Kindergarten would like to share their experiences so far, I would love to hear that.
Candy, your little guys are doing colors. I know Maverick has been doing some colors. How are you feeling about that?
Right. I think it's pretty wonderful. I have them learning their colors, and I also am trying to teach them what yes and no actually means. So like I'll say, would you like a pine nut? And if he turns his head away, like he would really say no, and if he turns his head away, I'll say no, Maverick does not want a pine nut. Yes, Maverick does want a pine nut. I try to make them understand what those words mean. And now I'm trying to link the yes and the no to the red and the green colors. And the first time I did it a couple of days ago, Maverick looked at me like, what? Because you can see his face is so expressive and his eyes pinned in and out, in and out. And he was looking at the red and he's going, it's red. And I go, it also means no. Red means no. And he was like, what are you saying? I mean, you could see it in his face. He was like, I don't get it, lady. What are you trying to do to me? But they're learning their colors. They're learning yes and no. They're learning their preferences. And I'm learning their preferences. And they are able to choose. I want to start doing the tablet. I want to get the COM board going and try to see if I can, because it means an awful lot to me that they'll be able to express themselves and not just be victims that are dragged all around and you have to do this and you have to do that. That they actually will have a choice and they'll actually be able to tell me what they want and what they don't want. And that means a lot. So now I'm enjoying it very much.
It's so much fun every single week to hear about your little guys because you guys are so amazing.
They're not superstars, but they're learning.
They are. You guys are awesome.
I don't want to parrot shame at all, but do you find that there are any particular species that might be less likely to take to us because they've got short attention spans? Or I mean, I did see you have one cockatiel in that little montage, but I mean, I find it hard to believe my cockatiels would ever sit still long enough to do any of this. I mean, they're always running around and doing stuff.
It's been more about their motivation across species than species, as we found. So sometimes we'll have a learner and like the owners will be like, oh, they're not really interested or something. But sometimes we also find out that the treats are things that they're fed kind of all day. It's part of their diet. Sometimes the learners are on a seed-based diet, so like getting seeds doesn't really mean that much. So a lot of times what we've found, and Cassie Molina is our behavior trained her for Parrot Kindergarten. She's like our school counselor. So sometimes if we have a learner who, isn't as motivated, she'll help put together a diet plan that brings out the treats only for learning and doesn't have it available at other times of the day. And then that usually winds up bringing some motivation. Another reason that a bird may not be as motivated by food is if they're nervous, like if they're nervous about the learning material, or they might be a little overwhelmed, or that is something. And then the last thing is sometimes birds are more motivated by praise or by scritches. We try to get them into being a little more food motivated because that might create a little bit longer of a session for learning. But a lot of times we found it's more about motivation than species. And to that point, one of our math participants we had budgies. We had like a Rourke parakeet. That parakeet got 100%, all the way counting, adding like numbers, quantity up to 10. I mean, they were just amazing. The little budgies, they're smart. So it's a little bit more about motivation sometimes.
Hi, we're interested in Amy's question because we've got two little cockatiels, and we've been thinking a lot about motivation because right now we're struggling with it because they used to love food a lot, but now
they used to do training.
Yeah, we used to do training, except now they're like, it's hard to find things to motivate them because they're just like, I think like
horny.
They're really horny. So
there is also that.
So we're like trying to figure out how to find other ways.
Like one of our birds is really obsessed with the other one, and he just gets really angry if I bring a treat up to his face. He gets really, really angry because it's like, what, you're distracting me from my friend.
Right. Okay, so go ahead.
Do you deal with that? I don't know. It's like that kind of a dynamic. You have a lot of birds in your household.
Yeah, so it's like when they're obsessed with each other, we didn't know how.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay, so that does go a little bit more toward the hormonal side of things, and sometimes when we have birds that are, I always call it learning how to learn. Like for human children to be successful, they need to have like certain skill sets, and we give them lots of space and time to learn how to learn those skill sets. And with birds, their skill sets are similar. Like they learn how to learn a target. They learn how to discriminate between two new vocabulary words. Those are the little building blocks to learn how to learn. But also, depending on the learner, to get them to that point is a journey. They all have unique journeys, which is really, in my opinion, like unique and beautiful and special, because Tilly's journey took a little bit of time. She was afraid of everything. She was afraid of me if I walked in the room, like everything was really scary. So it took months for her to settle into a place where she was able to learn. But I would almost think with your guys, so you have some hormonal kind of behavior, like territorial, and that they're learning how to learn with work around that. So you have one cockatiel who's pretty possessive of the other, and if you come near, he's gonna like kind of try to like kill you. And if you give him a treat, he's more interested in like killing all the things. So that's an interesting one. It's not one that couldn't be unraveled and figured out. Cassie tends to be our behavior, like our school counselor on those topics a little bit. She's 22 years of experience and behavior. But I would almost think that, does he have a favorite food?
Sorry.
I know in the past they did, but sometimes when they're hormonal, they're not thinking so much about training. But did he have a favorite food in the past?
Yeah. He used to just love almonds, and I would use almonds for target training and clicker training and kinds of stuff. But he just doesn't. Honestly, it's like it enrages him when I approach with food. If I like or anything, it's me. I'm the problem. Clearly.
Yeah. No, I think it's so like when dogs and cats. Dogs have been, cultured by humans for like domesticated for 20,000 years, and cats are 10,000 years, and these guys are like 0. So so a lot of those initial instincts that have already been in their wild natures are still there. And in the wild nature is like when they're bonded, they're like, oh, murder the outsider. That's just their initial reaction. But I would kind of play around with, and this would be something that if you were in the program and we had Cassie, like she'd have some good ideas too. The idea of just drive by treats. So you stop, whenever you walk by, drop in a treat, walk by, drop in a treat, all day long, just like little tiny treats. And I think at some point when you walk by, he's gonna be like, oh, where's the treat? I'm getting a treat. So it kind of like jerks him out of the let me murder you and more into the let me see what's in my bowl. And then you walk by, maybe have a treat, but also like maybe have a little stick and see, or actually I'd hold the treat and maybe like hold the treat and see if he'll come over. And I think if you walk by and he's used to getting treats, and then you come over with a stick and he learns to look at the stick and he gets a treat for looking at the stick. I would do hands-off training with him. I would do the look training. So the preference training that we have in our curriculum, that we have a free class on it, I would do the look training. He looks at the stick and he gets a treat. You move the stick, he looks at the stick, he gets a treat. And then you build out from there. So he's gonna do look training, hands off, and I bet he'll become a pretty good learner just by looking.
Hey, Jen, I have hormonal birds, which I'm like starting to train. And what I do is they're very hormonal because they want to nest and they're territorial over the cage. So I find if I remove them from the cage where they can't see the cage or their mate, like if in the bathroom, you seclude them, and that works very well for me. Perhaps you know, try that.
Yeah, if you can, if your guys are out and if your birds are out and you're able to separate them, that's an easier way maybe to train the other one. But if they're in together in a cage and they don't come out, then you know, look training might work for them as well. But yeah, Rashi, that's a really good point of like, if it's possible that they're out and separated and you can grab them individually, you might have some luck with that too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of our bird moms, her name is Sierra, and she's a cockatiel, and dude, that cockatiel like learned the comm board like a boss in 4 days, like almond, 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 almond. Like the whole menu of Tracy, like almond, 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 millet, almond, almond, you know, and then like all the activities. It's hilarious. And he comes in like he's learning how to trace his name. He loves it. He loves his games. Brilliant, brilliant bird. Fast.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, well, just less hormones, more brain control, and we'll get there, I guess.
Yeah, try to look training. If you email me, and I'll send you like the link to get into to register for the free program, and that look training is a good basis. And then I have some emails that you'll get, and a couple of them really help with the hands-off birds. Tilly's a hands-off bird. She's like, I mean, I don't think of her as a biter, but I mean, she'd bite your face off if you were close to her. Like, just don't put your face close to her, you'll be fine. So she's I had to have a like, look.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think we saw your email in the chat, right? So we'll definitely.
Okay, good. Yeah, sounds good.
And I'll send the email out to everyone as well afterwards.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, no, this is great because we were thinking this can be because we also have to work on larger relationship issues because that little guy used to be best friends with Sam, but then like we adopted another bird, and then everything is different.
And now I'm like garbage.
So,
yeah. If you had any interest in working with Cassie, she's magical with behavior stuff. I mean, I've been teaching cognition training for like 10 years, but I'm not necessarily a behavior trainer because I'm in cognition, she's in behavior. And so with my bird Isabel, she was having some hormonal challenges. And, you know, after a couple of months of like trying, I was like, we're really not getting anywhere here. Let me call Cassie. And she does packages of like 1, 3, or 6. And I got a package of like 6 sessions because I needed the accountability. in the first session, I mean, she'd been pinching me. When she'd see something that would make her hormonal, she would pinch me. And it was becoming a problem because she's an umbrella. And in the first session, she was like, do this, do this, do this. I have not been pinched again since then. And we were able to work through so much stuff. Like, she's a miracle worker. So
cool. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put her email. So if you're in our Parrot Kindergarten program, it's like up to 60-something% off her packages. Like she has normal trainer pricing for people who aren't in Parrot Kindergarten, but if you're in our Parrot Kindergarten program, like she has half or more off of her stuff. So I'm going to give you her email. Because at the moment if you wanted to reach out to her and you're not in Parrot Kindergarten, I'm going to put it in here. It's cma924@gmail.com. She's Cassie. She used to be the director for Disney's like Animal Kingdom's Parrot program. Yeah,
Really?
like she's
Wow.
like a legend. She's awesome. So that's Cassie, and this is her private email. If you wanted the private sessions, then anybody who's in Parrot Kindergarten can get the full program, get the reduction.
Okay.
I think my Gla will be perfect for Parrot Kindergarten. I think she would really, really like it. She's not food oriented, but she's extremely praise or head rub oriented. So as long as we could work with that, because she's really not gonna choose treats. It's just not important to her.
Yeah, no, we can work with it.
But she's really smart. I think she'll enjoy this very much.
Awesome.
The thing that really got me last time I saw your talk was I just love the idea of giving birds choice, because I don't think we even think about the fact that when we have animals in our house, no matter what kind of animal it is, we're not giving them choices. We are dictating their lives. And while most of us are presumably benevolent dictators, and this is all they know, I just think the idea of letting them choose things is just an amazingly important thing for their well-being. And I wonder if this is even something that would help with, for example, feather pluckers. Maybe if they got some choice in their lives, they would stop self-mutilating.
That's what we've seen. We've seen a lot of birds that have, and there are very many reasons for feather plucking. So I'm not going to say like this would always be a cure, but we've had birds that have been plucking or mutilating for years, who have reduction or who, have complete fix about it. So it's been, it can be helpful. And we've seen that in some birds for sure. But I think you're right. Like there's so much to choice and voice. And the other thing I'll say is they don't really abuse it. And Ellie probably asks for something. She'll ring her bell, an entire day, maybe 6 times or 7. And it's like, you're eating something, I want it. Or, I want to read a book, or there's someone outside, I want to say hello to them. Like, it's not like intense. It's not, I want 70,000 treats. Actually, they don't usually ask for treats. They'll ask for some sort of experience, or you're doing something they think they should be entitled to have it too.
I think it's a little dangerous giving a bird a bell, though. I just
Especially, but it's like,
come here, servant, come in and serve me.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting because a lot of times in the Parrot Kindergarten program, like one of the very first things, especially if we have a screamer, one of the first things we do is put them onto a bell system. So they ring a bell instead of screaming. But then we wean them off of the constant ringing, just like we would say to children, like, hey, I'll be there in a minute, or no, we can't have any more. Oh yes, we can do this. So like they become really reasonable about it. Initially, they'll be like, ring, 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 ring. But then after a couple of days, you're like, oh, just a minute. And they become very normal.
I remember you had some sort of a sale recently, like maybe maybe not recently, a few months ago or something. Do you run periodic discounts for Parrot Kindergarten, or is there any sort of a discount for attending this program or anything like that?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so not out yet. You guys are gonna be the first to know about it. We're probably gonna be doing I think it was in April, we did a 4-day workshop intensive, like a deep dive deep. I taught everybody how to use the tablet, how to desensitize it, how to get them into touching and pressure touching and playing games, doing books, doing communication. And then I think once a quarter, we're gonna, not even that, like maybe a couple times a year, we're gonna have that intensive. And at the end of it, we offer a discount for anybody who signs up during that time. But I also think we're only going to be opening up our full-time program, like our full program for coaching and for like the Cassie discounts and the clever cookies and all of that. I think we're going to only be opening that up a couple times a year, because we've found, you know, that having that interaction with others during the pre-workshop sometimes helps people feel comfortable and excited about, like, good about their coaching calls, and gets them used to that format. So, and I think, honestly, I think like the coaching calls help so much, because whatever your bird's doing, like we're able to, okay, try this, and then you go do it and it works out, and then we do the next step and the next step. So it's really like a lot of nurturing along the journey and mentorship and friendship. So that should be coming in August, and I'll be sending emails about it if anybody's on our list. If you're not on your on my list, send me an email. I'll also put a link here so that you can get on our list.
How about the Amazon Fire tablet? Is that compatible with that app, the Combook app? Comboard app. Yeah.
Yes, the Kindle does now have it. It didn't used to, but I think it does now have it on there. Okay, so this is a registration page for the free classes that we have available right now. And if you register, I'll send you helpful like tips and coaching by email, and then you'll also know when we're going to be having the workshop that we'll be doing in August.
Okay,
and then this is a tablet apps link as well for anybody who wants a list of really awesome tablet apps for birds.
Okay, yeah, because the Fire also comes in a really good child-proof version.
Yes.
So that's a good one. And of course, you know, they're always having great sales at Amazon, that, but there's one that's kind of really bomb-proof that would be a good one to get for a parrot.
Yes. Awesome. That sounds good.
Do we have some more questions? Probably everybody asked their questions as we're going along, especially me, but all right. Well, if not, I want to thank you so much, Jen, for talking to us. I just find this whole thing so fascinating. I mean, it's just amazing what we can do with our birds that we just don't even think to do. They're such intelligent creatures. I think this is really a great way for people to get further involved with their parrots and make their lives so much better. So everybody can give a little round of applause on the screen and silent or whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Jen. This was awesome.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for all you do in the bird community, Amy. Thank you for education and awareness. You all and this group bring such goodness to the bird community and the people in your area, and so thank you for all you do.
Isn't that sweet? Well, I'm gonna, let's see, turn off the recording here.